What's your favorite Christmas song?
Oh, like Christian Christmas song or just Christmas song in general?
So there's two categories. Christian,
right, there is.
And then also commercial.
Okay. My favorite carol/hymn is O Come, Emmanuel.
Oh,
love it.
Such a good one.
Future Forestry's version is my favorite. And if you've never had listen to that, it's a must listen. And my favorite just general Christmas song is Santa Claus is Coming to Town by Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band is my jam at Christmas, for sure.
Those are very solid. Well, guys, it's Christmas time.
It's Christmas.
It's Everyday Theology, and we would be remiss if we didn't do some episodes on Jesus being the reason for the season. And Jacob, you're going to talk about how Christ fulfills all the Old Testament prophecies.
Yeah. I mean, we just talked about O Come, Emmanuel. That's like song is built out of that, right? You know, actually, a lot of carols have that kind of theme of how Christ fulfills Old Testament stuff. Yeah. But sometimes that's overlooked. And actually, I think it's an easily like important reality that we do remind ourselves. I mean, we can really remind ourselves anytime, but Christmas kind of brings to the forefront how Christ is the fulfillment of prophecies, even especially in his birth. And so I thought it'd be good for us to chat about that. Maybe it'll help us understand some carols that we sing this season.
I like it.
It's probably good for us though to start with kind of what prophecy is and isn't, because I actually think prophecy is there's many, but one of the stronger evidences for the truth of Christianity and of Christ and the work of God over time through his word. But sometimes I think we can like misunderstand what it is biblically. And so probably to start on the isn't side, like prophecy it's not fortune telling in the way that we think of it, right? It's not this kind of vague, like horoscopy kind of like, it's like you pull out the fortune cookies, the Chinese fortune cookies, and it's kind of this vague, like, there's going to be a Messiah one day and it's all going to be good. It's like, that's not really what prophecy is. Yeah. When we think of prophecy biblically, we're talking about like God's promises of what he's going to do that really come through the prophetic, the prophets, and the prophetic voice. So it's God speaking through his prophets, his promises that he's going to fulfill. And in that reality, they come in a few different ways. So sometimes they are predictive. They're actually direct predictions of what will happen. And God's saying, for instance, the Messiah will be born in Bethlehem. So Micah 5:2 speaks of that hundreds of years before Jesus shows up on the scene. And that's a direct prediction, right? And so we can see that prophecy and then that fulfillment. Sometimes, though, prophecies come in more like patterns. So there is a pattern that is going to eventually kind of move and be fulfilled. So you see some of those elements over time. So like the greater prophet than Moses will come. So it's like that's a pattern that you begin to see develop as over time in anticipation of this is a pattern that's going to be fulfilled in a greater way. Some people use the term typology, so the fulfillment of typology. So there are certain types in the Old Testament that are going to be fulfilled kind of in the end. You have more like thematic promises that come as well. So God's fulfilling of certain covenant promises in big theme ways. So they're not quite as like a detail, but more themed in a way that kind of come to culmination. And so you have to realize that there's multiple types of prophecies that are in the Old Testament, and you need to kind of understand a little bit what they are prophesying. What are they speaking to in order to understand how they are being fulfilled? And so when we get to Jesus, the New Testament authors, though, really try to highlight how Jesus actually fulfills all of the Old Testament prophecies. Probably the easiest author that gives us the most direct is Matthew. He actually uses the word fulfilled multiple times throughout his gospel to highlight how Jesus is fulfilling Old Testament prophecy. But again, sometimes those things are specific, right? Like he's going to be born in Bethlehem. That's Micah 5:2. That the Messiah is going to be born of a virgin, which is Isaiah 7:14, which is a prophecy both in the present but in a greater fulfillment sort of way, right? That's that kind of pattern prediction. You have things like he's going to be from the line of David. So there's covenant promises that are going to be fulfilled out of the covenant that God made with David. So even in Jesus's birth, you have direct promises, you have pattern promises, you have thematic promises that all are now being fulfilled, right? You have promises that the Messiah is going to bring healing to the blind and the lame that we see in Jesus's miracles, that he's going to be a light to the nations, right? From Galilee to the nations, Isaiah 1 talks about. And so even things like Isaiah 53, which talks about the one who will come, the suffering servant that will bear the sins of the people. So you see that thematic promise. And so if you really look through, and I think for the sake of this video, there's enough resources out there that help people explore some of that. And we can link some resources to this show notes to help us with that. But I think when you understand the types of prophecies there are, and then you look at the life of Jesus as it's recorded in the gospel, one of the things you note is that he is fulfilling prophecy after prophecy after prophecy. And it's not just in vague ways. It's all the way from specific things to patterns to covenantal promises that he is fulfilling. And I think one of the things we forget is all of those prophecies were written centuries earlier.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, centuries, even some of them thousands of years earlier than when Jesus showed up on the scene. And yet he's fulfilling one after the other after the other.
Yeah.
And so there was a guy, his name's Peter Stoner, who did that's a real person.
Sorry.
I saw that face, Jen. I saw that face. I just wanted to clarify. So he did this classic kind of calculation where he did a scientific calculation to say, if we just take 8 of these prophecies, there are more than that, but let's just take 8 of like the clearest ones that we can find, and in the recorded of how Jesus fulfilled those prophecies, he looked at like, what is the mathematic statistical reality of what it would mean for one person to just fulfill 8 prophecies, right? Born in Bethlehem, of the line of David, all these sorts of things, dying in the way he did, all the sorts of things. And what he found was the odds of one person just fulfilling 8 Old Testament prophecies would be one, in the most conservative way he could, 1 in 10 to the power of 17. So that's 1 with 10 with 17 zeros after it. So it's like, I don't even know what that number is. Like that's statistically right. You have a better chance of winning the Powerball than you do of Jesus fulfilling 8 prophecies.
Wow.
So this was the equivalent like story that I've heard is that would be similar to covering the entire state of Texas in silver dollars that were 2 feet deep and marking one of those silver dollars with a mark and having a blindfolded man pick that silver dollar on the first try. That would be the statistical equivalent. Just to give you a visual picture.
Yeah.
So the fact that Jesus fulfilled even more than those 8, I think is one of the evidences.
Right.
Like one of the things. There's lots of things of where we believe in why Jesus is who he is as the Messiah, the promised one, the Son of God. But I think his fulfillment of prophecies like is a huge one. And I think when you dig into what's in the Old Testament and you see how Jesus fulfills that in the way he does, it's hard not to step back and say, this is divinely orchestrated. This is God doing something that no human could ever do in the incarnation of Jesus. in his fulfillment of God's promises, in the part of God's plan to bring redemption to the world and bring salvation to humanity that was lost and disconnected from God, from their sin. And so I would encourage you, if you're kind of exploring, even if you're skeptical, like dig into this. And I'm more than willing to have a conversation, not only in comments, but reach out to me to navigate this. I know there's people that are skeptical on this, but I remain convinced, and I'd love to dialogue more about it. But if you do have faith in Jesus, I think where the reminder of Jesus' fulfillment of prophecies can be helpful for us is that it can encourage us in a few ways in our faith. One, I think it can remind us that Jesus is the Messiah, right? That's what these prophecies are meant to help us understand. He's the Messiah and the culmination of God's plan of redemption. I think it can remind us that Scripture is trustworthy, right? That Scripture is God inspiring people over time to record his very word as a revelation to humanity, and that it is trustworthy, that what he has revealed, he fulfills, and what he promises, he does, and we can trust what God has revealed in his word. I think it can remind us that faith is reasonable, right? This isn't just, we're not just blind on this, but there's genuine evidence and genuine prophecies that we believe Jesus has fulfilled. And I think that there's reasonable understanding. And so our faith has reason to it. And then I think it can remind us too of the future hope, which is one of my favorite things about Christmas. So Christmas the surrounding season of Christmas is Advent. Advent means arrival. And Christians historically have used the season of Christmas to both look back at Jesus' first arrival, but look forward in anticipation of his future arrival to bring the new heaven and the new earth and consummate the kingdom here. And I think that's one of my favorite parts of even Christmas carols. So since we're going back to songs, one of my favorite examples of this is Joy to the World. So what is Joy to the World about? Is it about Jesus' first coming or his second coming?
His first coming.
Is it? Joy to the world, the Lord has come, let earth receive her King.
Let earth receive her King. Oh.
Let every heart prepare him room, and heaven and nature sing.
It's his second coming.
Or is it both?
Well, it is both.
Right. That's the beauty of it. That's why it's the best one. Because it's this beautiful exploration of the arrival of Jesus, both looking back at his arrival and his future arrival. Biblical prophecy can help us because it reminds us, if God would fulfill his promises then in the way he did with Jesus, he will fulfill his promises to come. And we can live in hope and security of that. Yeah. And so I think it's an incredible thing when we consider the way the fulfillment of prophecy comes. And there's no better season than Christmas to see that. So even as you sing Christmas carols this season, I hope you see even how they draw on that fulfillment theme and that it nurtures you in your faith. And if you're questioning and exploring, man, let's talk. I'd love to engage you. Reach out to us here at Everyday Theology. We'd love to have this conversation and help you see why Jesus is the fulfillment of God's promises to us as human beings. Hey everyone, I'm Jacob from Everyday Theology, and Everyday Theology is a product of Woodside Bible Church. And if you didn't know, Woodside Bible Church is located in Southeast Michigan. We actually have 14 campuses in the Metro Detroit area. And so if you are in Southeast Michigan, we would love to have you join us on a Sunday morning. You can find out more information on our website about where our locations are and how to get involved here at woodsidebible.org.